everyone, and welcome to Discovery Church. I'm Danica, and I'd like to thank you for spending part of your weekend with us. We're going to get started with the service in just a few minutes, but before we do that, we want to let you know about what's happening around DCC. First up, the men's and women's communities have joined forces to bring us softball.
What's the guy's name on first base?
What's the guy's name on second base?
I am not asking you who's on second.
Who's on first?
I don't know.
He's on third. We're not talking about him.
We're going to play ball on Saturday, July 22nd. This is a family-friendly event with a lot of activities planned. So if you love softball and barbecue, then go to the DCC events page and sign up. Next up is a great opportunity for all you musicians out there.
We're moving to 4 services, and that's 4 opportunities to reach hurting people who need a safe a place where they can have an encounter with Jesus, and worship is an integral part of that experience. We're currently looking for musicians that would like to join our team. If you have a passion for music, for worship, for creating environments and moments, and for helping people to see that God is present all around us, or if you're looking for a fun, challenging, and rewarding place to volunteer with a tight group of musicians, please consider joining. We're currently looking to add in all positions: drums, bass, electric and acoustic guitar, keys, vocals, or any instrument you happen to play. We want to hear you.
If you want to sign up and be a part of the worship team, just go to me2place.com/musicians. Guys, camp is just around the corner, and spots are filling up fast. There's only a few weeks left to sign up, and if you still need convincing, just check this out. Camp is the best youth event we do all year, and we really want you to be there. So sign up and go to me2place.com/events. All the information you need is going to be right there. Last, Greg is going to tell you about a great way for you to stay on mission during the summer, even if you're out of town.
Hey DCC, I just want to give you a quick shout out because even though this year has been a blur, summer is now upon us. It's here. And I hope that you have some incredible plans for this summer and that you'll be able to vacation and have some time for fun and to relax and be refreshed too. And while I love summer personally, just like you, as a pastor, I'm just going to be honest with you, summer is tough because both attendance and giving tend to drop in the summertime, and yet nothing changes here. Every single week, here we are doing what we do. For us, it's business as usual. So I really do hope you have a great summer, but I also want to remind you of a way that you can make this a great summer at DCC. What I'm talking about is our recurring online giving. If you're already an online giver, it really is easy. And hey, if you're not an online giver, maybe summer's a great time for you to begin to jump on mission with us that way. Again, you're just an easy step or two away, and we can help you with that.
Setting up recurring giving is super easy. Just type in the amount that you'd like to give, select the fund that you want it to go to, and change occurrence from one time to regularly. After that, just select how often you would like to give and when you want those gifts to happen. You can select the day of the month and select when the first donation will be. After that, type in your email address, scroll down, and simply type in your financial information. That's all there is to it. You've set up your recurring giving.
We just want to make sure that you are aware of an easy way to stay on mission with us, regardless of where summer takes you or how long you're going to be away. So thanks for being on mission with us.
Want a super easy way to help out at DCC? You can really help us by not just following us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, but also by sharing content we post. It's one of the easiest ways to invite our community to DCC. That's it for this week, so please stand up and join us for worship.
There's From the start, here we are, taking out of your love. And every heart set apart just to be where you are. And now, we're turning our hearts to you. And now, we'll never stop loving you. This will be the best time of our lives as we encounter your love again. Here with you, our hearts will come along as we declare your praises. Oh, 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 oh. As we declare your praises. Oh, 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 oh. This is our time, this is our place, this is our moment to live your name. This is our time, this is our place, this is our moment to live your name. This is our time, this is our place, this is our moment to live your name. This is our time, this is our place, this is our moment to live your name. This will be the best time of our lives as we encounter your love again. Here with you, our hearts will come alive. Let's declare your praises. Oh, 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 oh. As we declare your praises. Oh, 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 oh. Who breaks the power of sin and darkness, whose love is mighty and so much stronger. The King of glory, the King above our head. Who shakes the whole earth with holy thunder, who leaves us breathless in awe and wonder. The King of glory, the King above our head. This is amazing grace. This is amazing love. That you would take my place. That you would bear my cross. You laid down your life. That I would be set free. Yeah. Oh, Jesus, I say for all that you've done for me. See how who brings our care? Who brings our chaos back into order? Who made the orphan the son and daughter? The King of glory, the King of glory, who rules the nation with truth and justice, shines like the sun in all of its brilliance. The King of glory, the King of all kings. Oh, this is amazing Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy, worthy, worthy. Oh, this is amazing grace. This is unfailing love. That you would take my place. That you would bear my cross. You laid down your life. That I would be set free. Oh, Jesus, I sing for all that you've done for me. This is unfailing love. That you would take my place. That you would bear my cross. You laid down your life. That I would be set free. Oh, Jesus, I sing for all that you've done from the first break of light to the last days. Every echo of time, every evening fair. You've always been there. From a baby's first cry to the last breath, every fight in our minds, every victory there. You've always been there. Ancient One, so amazing, unfailing you are. Holy One, overwhelming my heart with your love. Yahweh, Yahweh. Yahweh is the most precious, sacred, and mysterious name that we're given for God. This name that was handed down thousands of years ago to the Jewish people. This name that couldn't be pronounced, that couldn't be uttered. The only way to describe the way that this word is pronounced is as an out-breath and an in-breath. God gave us this name to call him Yahweh, to remind ourselves that every breath is a gift. Every time we inhale and exhale, we speak the name of God. It's inescapable. It is all around us. It is this ever-present reality. All that we have to do to access it is get out of our own way and see that the air is charged with the presence of the living God. To sit and to breathe in and to breathe out and to enter into the present moment, speaking Yahweh, Yahweh, Yahweh. Realize the God that loves us is all around us. We're going to enter into a time of communion here this morning. And what this is another moment for us to be still, to be silent. In all of our weeks, all of the busyness, all of the work, all the things that we have to get done, all the things we have to do, the people we have to see, we don't have a lot of time to just sit and to be still. And before Jesus went to the cross, he instituted this ritual of communion, knowing our propensity to wander, knowing our hopeless addiction to distraction. He gave us this thing called communion. He told us to practice this, sitting and sharing a meal and remembering that everything is charged with the spirit of divinity. So if you're unfamiliar with what's going to happen, some trays are going to go up and down the aisle with a little wafer and a cup of juice representing the blood and body of Christ, the price that was paid so that we could actually live, so that we could be awake, so that we wouldn't be wandering ghosts upon this earth any longer, but we would be sons and daughters of the living God. Take one of each of those, take it on your own time. We're not going to come back up and do it together, anything like that, but let this be a moment for you to sit and to breathe and to speak the name of God and remember that you are loved, that you have been adopted, that this great life on mission with purpose and love and joy is available to you. All you have to do is reach out and take it. If you've never been with us before, you're going to hear people shattering those little plastic cups all around the room, just breaking them in their hands, and it's this symbol that it is finished. The things that held us in bondage have no more power over us. The chains are broken. This curtain has been torn, and we are free. And that is the final word that is spoken about us, is that we are free. And if all of this is weird, and you want nothing to do with it, there's no shame in that. Just pass it around to the next person. That's fine. If you have questions, there will be an opportunity at the end of the service for you to ask those, but no one's going to pursue you, ask you to leave, judge you, anything like that. You are totally fine. Just pass it around to the next person without taking anything. So let's pray, and we'll share in this meal together. God, we thank you for this table where we all come and we remember what you did for us. And God, that at this table there is no seat that is better than any other. That everything is level, everything is equal. That we're all here because of you. We've been rescued and redeemed because of you. And God, we thank you that for those of us who haven't taken a seat at that table yet, that there's a place for all of us. All we have to do is pull up a chair and sit and eat with you. In your name we pray. Amen.
stand with us as we sing one last song in celebration of that?
They rise against me, but I will hold my ground. I will not fear the war, I will not fear the storm. My help is on the way, my help is on the way. Oh my God, He will not delay, my refuge and strength always. I will not fear, His promise is true, my God will come through always, always. Trouble surrounds me, chaos abounding, my soul will rest in. I will not fear the war, I will not fear the storm. My help is on the way, my help is on the way. Oh my God, He will not delay, my refuge and strength always. I will not fear, His promise is true, my God will come through always, always. I lift my eyes up, my help comes from the Lord. I lift my eyes up, my help comes from the Lord. I lift my eyes up, my help comes from the Lord. I lift my eyes up, my help comes from the Lord. Oh my God, He will not delay, my refuge and strength always. I will not fear, His promise is true, my God will come through always. Oh my God, He will not delay, my refuge and strength always, always.
Amen. You guys can have a seat.
Good morning, sir. Come on.
Dad, we're late for soccer practice.
I love that video so much, don't you? Don't it just speaks that shocked face right at the end that Grant has? Oh, shoot! That's what he says, right? I forgot about it. Crap! Hold on to that. We're gonna come back in a second. First, let me say good morning. Good morning. Hey, we're so happy that you're here. Special welcome starting off to all of our friends online. We didn't have internet last week. We have it this week. We're glad you're with us. And happy Father's Day to all of you. Yeah, happy Father's Day. We love and appreciate you dads so much that we got you Starbucks today. So all the coffee out there is Starbucks. We love you so much that we did that, and our coffee machine isn't still working. So we do love you enough for a Starbucks worth. Dads, we're so grateful for you, but our coffee machine's not working. But for serious, we do love you and we appreciate you. And I recognize and we understand the mantle that comes with being a dad and the responsibility and the weight. And so thank you for all the love and the care and the sacrifice that you pour out to your families. Let's just give it up for our dads one more time. Happy Father's Day. Yeah. Happy Father's Day. We're grateful for all that you do. Well, it was last week. I was sitting right here, and I remember thinking, oh my goodness, I want this text to stop going off, to stop going off. I had about 15 texts right in a row, and they were just going and going and going, and they wouldn't shut up. So I was in the middle of worship, and I just wanted to grab my phone, and I wanted to throw it just across the stage and let out a scream, like not a little girl scream, like, ah, but like this stupid phone. I just wanted to throw my phone because the text wouldn't shut up, and I feel like our life a lot of times feels like that, like it won't shut off. It won't turn off. Life keeps coming and coming and coming, doesn't it? I feel like we need a safe place every once in a while. And last week we were on this mission trip. We were wrapping it up. It was to this far, far away land of Colorado Springs, right? Like really, really far. It was a hard drive. And that's where we were ending serving here at the church. And I just realized we need a safe place. We need a place to just turn off and just be airplane mode and just calm down. And we hope that that's what this place is. On that mission trip last week to Colorado Springs, I just realized the hopelessness and some of the desperation within our very own city. And I know that this can be a place. We hope, if it's your first time here, I hope that you see and feel that this is a safe place for all of your story, regardless of how it reads, and no matter what you believe, because we need that safe place to turn off, because life just keeps going and going, and it's easy to start feeling like we're running on empty. You ever feel like that? Like life is just going all around us. It's not just our text or our technology, but it's life. It's our busy schedules. It's all these things that we have going. We're halfway where we are right now. We're half where we are, and we're half looking forward to what's coming next. Does that sound familiar? It's hard for us to be where we are. And that was Greg's whole point last week. And he said when life gets tough, when the going gets tough, and then he had us fill in the blank. Remember that? And I filled it in with I run away, but I also run into stuff. I run into the problems. And when my life blows up, rather than deal with the things that are going on and hit airplane mode and take time to process, what I like to do is make myself even busier. And I like to make myself even busier because I don't want to deal with the real thing that's going on, and I leave myself more empty. And he left me with this natural question that we have to dive into today. How do I deal with this constant feeling that I'm running on empty? That's the question that we have to dive after as we finish up this airplane mode series. What do I do when I constantly feel like I'm running on empty? If you have a Bible, we're going to be in Mark chapter 6. If you don't have a Bible, I'd love to give you one. We have everything on that program. It's on the screens up here. We also have an app. You can follow along with everything that's going on at DCC, but especially with notes. That's a good thing to download. And before we dive in to Mark chapter 6 today, we need a little bit of backstory. Okay, the beginning of Mark chapter 6, Jesus has his 12 disciples, and he is sending them out. They've all gotten together, and he's like, you know what, we're going to get in groups of 2, and we're going to go and love on people all over this area. So he sends them out, they go out, and they come back, and they're exhausted. They're tired. We're going to see in a second that they haven't eaten, but also, right before the passage that we're looking at, and while he sent them out, Jesus just learned that his cousin was beheaded. His cousin died. So not only are they tired and hungry, but they're also mourning Jesus' cousin John the Baptist, who was just beheaded. And that's where we pick up, with some tired, hungry, and some mourning guys. That's where we pick up today. So Mark chapter 6, verse 30 says this: the apostles gathered around Jesus and reported to him all they had done and taught. So everything that they had done in the last few weeks, this is what they had done. And then, because so many people were coming and going that they did not even have a chance to eat, he said to them, "Come with me by yourselves to a quiet place, and let's get some rest." And so they went away by themselves in a boat to a solitary place. But get this, many who saw them leaving recognized them and ran on foot from all the towns and got there ahead of them. So Jesus says, I know you're tired. You haven't even eaten. Let's go and get some rest. Let's go and get some rest. And what happens? Life comes with them. And all these people with their wants and needs and desires, they follow them and they run after them. See, these guys were tired from their journey, but they were also people too. And I think about what they could have been in. You guys know what hangry means? Hangry, it's when you're so hungry that you're angry, right? You know those people in your life who get hangry? Okay, I've got somebody on my staff who gets hangry, okay? I'm not going to mention any names, but Aislinn, if you're in here today, we know this is you, okay? When you're hungry, you just get angry, okay? There's those people in our lives, and so Jesus is saying, hey, before anybody reaches that moment, because we're tired, let's get away for some time. Let's get away for some rest. Let's go and eat, and he's trying to look out for his guys. And here's the truth, okay? People are exhausting, right? People can be exhausting. I think I can get tired from people, not any of you because you're all great. No, but I can get tired from people. Can't you too? I mean, let's just be honest. And I think Jesus knew that. And I'm saying Jesus got tired from people, okay? I'm not saying Jesus got tired of people. Jesus came and died for us because he loved us so much. He never got tired of people, but he got tired from people because this life is exhausting and people can be exhausting. And he says, you know what? You guys are tired, you're hungry. Let's go ahead and take care of that. And Jesus withdrew. Jesus withdrew all the time. He was constantly looking out and trying to get quiet time for his people, saying the pace of life is so busy, let's just get away. And I did a little bit of personal research this week. In the book of Mark, Jesus got quiet time 16 times in the book of Mark. It's recorded, okay? All over the four Gospels that tell us all about Jesus, he got quiet time all of the time. But he prioritized hitting airplane mode. He didn't have a phone to hit airplane mode on, but he prioritized his rest for him and for his disciples. I looked a couple verses up. Mark 1 says this. Mark 1, the very beginning, says, Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed. Even more than we have record of, he said, you know what? I'm tired, I'm exhausted. I need some alone time with God. And he would withdraw so that he would be able to be there when he needed to be. John chapter 7, verse 10 says this, and I thought this one was interesting when I looked it up. After his brothers had gone to the feast, then Jesus also went up, not publicly, but in private. So here's all these people who are following Jesus, his brothers. They go up, and then in private, he goes up. That is a journey from Galilee to Jerusalem. It's a 90-mile journey. It's a 5-day trip that he chose to go privately and not publicly because he needed alone time. See, he realized something. Jesus knew something about himself, about the people around us, and it was this. God knows something about us too. He knows that we need rest. That's why in the 10 Commandments, he said, you should take a Sabbath day. You should take rest. The 5th commandment in our Bible is you need to take rest. You need to take a Sabbath day. God knew something about us, and it's this. We all have limits. We all have limits. What are your limits? What are your limits? It was about 4 years ago, and my wife Kirsten and I were just about to move here to Colorado Springs from Chicago. I was working on masters, and I was 100% at my limits. Money was really hard, so I picked up a job. I was in full-time master's school, and I reached my limits. One day, I woke up and I just realized there was no way I was going to catch up on the homework from this one class. So I went into Dr. Barbigan's office, and I said, I'm really behind, and I know that. What's my grade in here? And she said, you have a 36%. And I was like, okay. Is there anything that I can do to make up the work that I've missed or catch up on material or anything like that? And I will never forget what she said to me. She said, Mr. Privet, it seems like you've reached your limit, and there's nothing that you're going to be able to do to pull this grade up by the end of the semester. And I was devastated. I had never failed a class up to that point in master's school. And I just remember that because she didn't say, you know what, you're going to fail this class, have a nice day, really sorry about that. But she said, what's going on in your world? What's going on in your world that you've reached your limits? And I just started crying. For the next 15 minutes, I just talked to her about we hadn't even been married for a year yet, and I just felt like a crap husband because I would come home sad and angry and depressed with no energy to really want to relate to Kirsten. I was picking up extra hours because we didn't have any money, and now I'm failing this class, and I just went on and on. And I knew that I had reached my limits in that moment. But that's not one of my only limits. I don't know how to say no. Can any of you relate to that? I don't say no when I don't have the time. I end up double or triple booking myself a lot of times. We all have limits. We all have limits. What are your limits? Okay, I've been pushed to the limits, and I've pushed myself, and I said, you know what, I can handle this, and I just break down. I can't handle it anymore. I remember when we were at camp a couple years ago, organizing transportation for 100 people was really exhausting. And I just remember it was the end of the camp. It was a great camp for our 100 people that we had. And I forgot to tell everybody where we were going to be picking up students. And I just totally missed it. And I just broke down crying in my car. I can't do this. I shouldn't be the youth pastor here. I'm a terrible leader. I'm a terrible speaker, all this stuff, because I had forgot to tell people where to pick all our kids up. And they all got back. Don't worry. They're all here. I don't think I would be here if we lost one, you know. But there's been so many times in my life where I've reached my limits because we all have limits. What are yours? Is it a relationship that maybe you just need to push pause on right now because it's not getting anywhere, so you can come back later refreshed, able to dive in and address whatever problem is going on, but that argument keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger? Or is it your job that you're bringing home with you? What are your limits? Because I think what Jesus sees is, you know what, we're all at our limits right now, guys. You just went out, you did some great ministry. Now, let's take some time. And they try to get away, but remember, the crowds follow them. And verse 34 says this: when Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. And so he began teaching them many things. We're tired, we're exhausted, we're hungry, but he saw all these people come, and he had compassion on them, so he begins teaching them. And then we're going to skip about 10 verses because it's not about the miracle that he performs. This is when he feeds 5,000 men, which means around 12 to 17,000 people, okay? He teaches all day, hungry and tired and still mourning his cousin, remember? And then he performs this awesome miracle. We're going to fast forward to right after, and look how Jesus reacts with this. Look how Jesus reacts with this. Verse 45. We're gonna read verse 45 today immediately. Okay. Verse 45. Immediately, Jesus made his disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him to Bethsaida while he dismissed the crowd. So immediately, Jesus made his disciples, these guys that he knew were tired and hungry, he made them get in a boat where nobody could follow them and go ahead of him to Bethsaida while he dismissed the crowd. And then after leaving them, he went up a mountainside to pray. He went up a mountainside to pray and rest and get some alone time. See, Jesus got tired from people. Jesus got tired from people, not of people, but he was tired. He needed that alone time. I go home after speaking on a Wednesday or a Sunday or whatever it is, and in a small way, I get this because I'm just exhausted. But I really understood this feeling of being completely exhausted when I used to work construction. I used to pour foundations. It was a short season of my life, about 6 months to a year. I would pour foundations, and I would wake up at 5:30, which I'm not an early morning person. I'd get to the job site at 6 to 6:30, and then we'd stay until the sun goes down. So 7, 7:30, 8, and we would just pour those foundations. I would come home just exhausted, completely tired. And what is your mood like when you're tired, when you're exhausted? What are you like when it's just been a long day and you can't handle it anymore? See, Jesus says, you know what? I'm tired, I'm exhausted. It's time to go up and get some alone time and pray. Okay, when you're tired, I can't even count how many times Kirsten and I have had late night arguments just because we're tired. Okay, we wake up the next morning, and I completely forgot what we were even fighting about the night before. She didn't forget, and she informs me, but I completely forgot after a night of rest what we fought about in the first place, right? And they're usually little, and she'll remind me, and we'll be able to address those things because we got some rest, and we were able to just move forward, right? When we're tired, when we're hungry, when we're mourning, that's when we're liable to make some bad decisions or some bad choices or say things that maybe later we wish we'd regret. And that's the point when we need to realize maybe we need a little bit of airplane mode right now. Maybe we just need to press pause on some things, get some rest, so we can get some perspective. What if airplane mode gives me perspective? What if hitting airplane mode gives me the perspective to see things for what they really are, to see the little things for what they really are that are becoming big things in my life because I haven't gotten rest, I haven't gotten food for the day? What if airplane mode gives me perspective to put the little things back in the little things bucket? Whether it's forced or whether it's chosen for us or we choose ourselves, what if airplane mode gives us that perspective? I was about 19, and my friends and I would hang out. We'd do guy stuff. I was very rarely at home. I was either working or I was hanging out with my friends. And one night we had the bright idea to go and play airsoft. We'd go camping, or we'd go on trips, or we'd go and play paintball or whatever. But we decided that we wanted to play near an elementary school building. And then somebody had the not so bright idea to play on top of an elementary school building. I was not very smart, and I wasn't always a good kid. Okay, and long story short, somebody called us in. And 2 helicopters, 2 cop helicopters, a K-9 unit, a SWAT team, and a handful of cop cars come and they arrest us all. There's a much longer story to be told in that, and it was awful. It ended up being the first time I was ever arrested, and there's more stories. I wasn't always a good kid, okay? But the moral of that story, okay, I got arrested. I was terrified. I go to my first court date. And we read the charges against us, and one of the charges was terrorism, because they charged us with a little bit of everything, and they got through like 7 charges against us, and they read all the fines and all the jail time, and it's like plus 10 years, $10,000 fine, and I'm just like, and my mind is exploding. I'm just absolutely terrified. We pled not guilty to everything, and then we lawyered up. We went in without a lawyer, and then we went and got a lawyer, and we went back after 3 court dates, negotiating with the courts and figuring out what we were going to do. I got slapped with community service, got a deferred sentence, and I got a fine. And I had to do community service somewhere, so I was looking for somewhere to do community service. I found this church, and one of the first things they asked me to do was help set up for a youth event. Now, when I was 19, 2 years out of high school, I had no desire to ever be at church again or ever work with teenagers. And here I was being forced on airplane mode. I couldn't go back to school. I had to take 6 months off. I couldn't leave the state and go back to Texas, so I was on forced airplane mode. And it was there where I started hanging out with these teenagers as a part of my community service. And I was like, why is the youth pastor here letting this guy who's doing community service hang out with teenagers? I didn't get it. Okay, I didn't get, but that's what happened. And I started to think, man, I wish that at this time of my life, I would have had somebody to guide me through some of the things that were going on in my life. And in that forced airplane mode, I started realizing some of the things that I was making a priority in my life didn't really matter. And it was a year later when I made the decision, you know what? Maybe I'll work with teenagers, work for a church. And if it wouldn't have been for that forced airplane mode to give me the perspective to see the hurting people around me, I have no idea where I'd be today, because that was the first church that hired me to work with teenagers. Right? What if airplane mode gives us the perspective to see the things that actually matter in our life and to put the little things back in the little thing bucket? What if that's what we need? It's amazing to me. It's amazing to me how God takes the mistakes that we have made He doesn't disqualify us, but he uses that stuff to help, to equip us to help others. God takes the mistakes that we've made, and that was a big mistake, and I've made some big mistakes in my life, and I let them come out when I'm on stage little by little. That was a huge mistake in my life. I really regret it, but God has used that in some big ways through forced airplane mode to help me get some perspective. And what if that time of rest, what if that time that we also desperately need but don't want to take is exactly what we need to get perspective in order to be able to have the life we're all looking for? What if our lack of perspective is one of the reasons why we're running on empty? I think Jesus realizes that. So he says, guys, get in a boat, go away. And he says, I'm going to go up this mountain. I'm going to go up this mountain. And look at the perspective that he gets now. Verse 47, later that night, the boat was in the middle of the lake, and he was alone on land. He saw the disciples straining at the oars, okay? It was later that night. That's when he sees them. And then several hours later is when he does something, okay? He saw his disciples straining at the oars because the wind was against them. And shortly before dawn is when he went out to them, okay? He saw them struggling, and he's like, they're okay. I need this time. They're going to be okay. Shortly before dawn, he went out to them walking on the lake. He was about to pass them by, okay? He has this perspective from his alone time. He was even about to pass them by. But when they saw him walking on the lake, they thought he was a ghost, and they cried out. And because they saw him and they were terrified, and immediately he spoke to them. He was just going to pass them by. He had this fresh perspective of, you know what? They're in this situation out at sea, but they're going to be okay. That's not my problem right now. I've got this fresh perspective. He was going to pass them by, but when they cried out to him, that's when he did something. And I have to think that if his disciples were actually in trouble, he would have done something about it. And it's when they cried out, that's when he pursued them. But he's got this fresh perspective. They're going to be okay. See, Jesus never set out to prove that he was perfect or address every need. He usually waited until people asked for him because he had perspective. And his perspective drove his actions. And each of us in this room has a driving force behind our actions. Each of us have a driving force behind why we want to do something for everybody, or we want to be everywhere, or do everything, or all this stuff. Each of us have a driving force behind our pursuit of perfection. And for a lot of us, it's fear. We have a fear of missing out, falling behind, or not mattering. We have this fear of missing out, not mattering, or falling behind. I remember it was just a couple months ago, I came back from a trip in Thailand and India with the Exodus Road, and I was gone for about 3 weeks here from church. I was on the trip about 17 days, and then took a little bit of time just to reacclimate, get back to America and everything, and I was so afraid of missing out. I do not take vacations very well. I save up all that vacation time and then I just never take it. Does that sound familiar to anybody? Because I have this fear of missing out, of not mattering, of falling behind. And I came back and our student ministries and everything that we had going on here at the church didn't miss me. There was a great team of volunteers and our assistant youth pastor, Chris, and our interns. They did a great job. I felt like I didn't matter anymore. I came back. I felt like I had fell behind, and I really felt like I had missed out. And that fear that I felt realized when I came back is a driving force behind a lot of my actions. It's a driving force behind why I don't hit airplane mode. Because what if I miss out on a text? Or what if I miss out on an experience at work? Or what if I'm needed? And what if they find somebody else and I don't matter anymore? And they give my job to somebody else. Does that sound familiar? It's our fears that drive a lot of our actions. And so we try to do everything, be everywhere, be there for everyone. Be there for everyone. And we try to pursue perfection. But our mission is to be present and not perfect. Our mission is to be present, not perfect. And I'm the person who needs to hear this, just like all of us. I was sitting here. This is what I need to hear just as much as maybe some of us need to hear today. Our mission is to be present, not perfect. I can't help everybody, but I can be there for someone. I can't be everywhere, but I can be somewhere. I can't do everything, but I can do something if I'm able to be present. Look, Jesus wasn't freaked out or emotional. He was able to be present. And he didn't make it his job to heal every blind person while he was here or to walk into every need or situation or difficult time. That's not what Jesus did while he was here. He was able to be present for those he was around and not make everything everywhere his priority. Not fill his schedule. He was able to be present. And here's the deal, though, for us. The pace of our lives is one of the biggest enemies of our hearts. The pace of my life is one of the biggest enemies of my heart. I don't like taking airplane mode, so I don't have fresh perspective, and little things become blown up big things in my life. And as we wrap up this series, we have to ask ourselves, what is keeping us from being present? What if that lack of taking an airplane mode is part of the reason why we're running on empty, because we don't take the time to rest? And as we wrap up this series, I had to share this story. God put this story on my heart. It's the story of this woman named Bronnie Ware. She's an Australian nurse in Australia, because she's Australian. She's an Australian nurse. And she spends all of her time working with people who are in the last 12 weeks of their life. She works in hospice care. So the shortest case she worked with was she got assigned to somebody, and she was there for 2 days, and then she passed away. The longest case is 12 weeks. So she sees people right at the end. And she started asking them this question: do you have any regrets? Do you have any regrets? She asked everybody that she would work with, do you have any regrets? And sure enough, they would just go on and on about their regrets or about their life or whatever it was. And she started writing all those regrets down. And she wrote a book called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. And I don't have time to go through all 5, but we got to look at the top 2. We got to look at the top 2 regrets of the dying. And the first regret was this: all these people that she asked, all of them constantly said, I wish I hadn't worked so much. I wish I hadn't worked so much. And check out this quote. Quote's this: this came from every male patient that I nursed. They missed their children's youth and their partner's companionship. They didn't miss it like it was this time of their life that they're not in anymore. No, they missed it altogether because of how much they were working. They missed their children's youth and their partner's companionship. Women also spoke of this regret, but most were from an older generation, and many of the female patients had not been breadwinners. All of the men I nursed deeply regretted spending so much of their lives on the treadmill of a work existence. How many of us are trying to get ahead in our work lives, and we're neglecting airplane mode, we're neglecting to turn off, and we're not able to be present, we're not living our lives. I was thinking of this commercial. You've probably seen this commercial. It might still be running. It's a MasterCard commercial. It's the Just One More Day commercial with all the little kids. You seen that one? And it's at the very beginning. It starts with this little kid, and he reads this stat, and he's like, 400 million vacation days go unused every year in the U.S. And this kid right next to him pops up, and he's like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard, right? Because here's all these vacation days. They're paid vacation days. We're just asking for one more day. Just take your vacation days. And I was just thinking, how many vacation days have I let go? How often have I known that I have needed to take a break, and I haven't done it because I'm afraid of missing out, falling behind, or not mattering, right? That keeps us from airplane mode. But it was the top regret that she listed that really rocked me. And maybe you're better than me, and this didn't speak to you, but this was like a dagger to my heart. The top regret of the dying was this: I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself and not the life others expected of me. I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself and not the life that others expected of me. If we're truly honest with ourselves, we take an inventory, really, truly, of our lives, how much of our life and schedule and busy life is driven because of what our family or our friends or our bosses or our parents or our kids are expecting of us. And how much of it is really us. We want to do things for all those people, and we want to be able to be present. But how much of our busy lives that we can't turn off and hit airplane mode and say no to is driven because of an expectation of others' expectation of us? See, I think when we're our busiest, when we are at our absolute busiest, that's when we need airplane the most. Because what if the reason why I'm running on empty is simply because I haven't taken the time to just press pause, take an inventory, to process what's going on in my world? We live in a culture in America that is constantly go, 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 go. What if what we need is just to take time, press pause. Take this summer and then just be able to get away for a weekend, or be able to come home from the end of the day, turn off that work, go to airplane mode, and just be able to be present with kids or family or friends or whatever it is. What if airplane mode is exactly what we need? And I want to end with this question. What is keeping you from being present in your life? It wasn't on Jesus. Jesus' quest wasn't to be perfect, but he was perfect, and he was present. He was able to be present. So what is keeping you from being present? What's keeping you running on empty? And what if hitting airplane mode is exactly what we need in order to be present and have the lives we're all looking for? Jesus, I thank you for this place, and I thank you for just a safe place where we can come and turn down the noise, God, and find the hope and be able to be ourselves and just rest in the presence of who you are. And God, I'm just thinking about communion as I see Wade walk up on stage and take my table. I'm just thinking about what he said and how he challenged us all and said, hey, what is keeping us from being able to be present? Because we just need to turn down the noise. Sometimes we need Jesus to take just a little bit of time and hit airplane mode so we can be able to be fully present. Jesus, will you come for me and for everybody here and help us to be able to be present in our lives? In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Hey, we're so grateful, happy that you were here today with us. It's the dead of summer. I know it's crazy, and there's all this life and all these things going on. So glad that you're here. If you have questions about anything that's going on in this place, you can just go out those doors, turn left. There's some nice people to ask your questions to. If you have something in your life that's just going crazy and you need prayer, there's going to be people underneath either one of these screens right here. They would love to pray with you. I'm going to be right outside by the fire. I'd love to meet you. The fire better not be on. It is way too hot to have a fire on. There's a fireplace, and that's right out there where I'm going to be. Lastly, if you want to be on mission with us, jump on mission with us and be the hope in this city and be the hope in this place that we're all wanting to be. We don't pass a tray. We don't ask for money. We just simply have a bucket in the back that you can drop that on the way out. Thanks for being here this week. We'll see you next week as we kick off our new series, Mixtapes. Have a good week.